Which group of people comes off as the most pretentious? College freshman in a psychology course. I dated a girl last year who was involved with horses. Specifically show jumping. I met the most pretentious self-involved people I have ever met in my life at the horse shows I went to with her. I thought I was taking part in some sort of mockumentary. Coffee snobs. I live in a country that drinks mainly tea. So I needed to Google how to make coffee. How much ground coffee to use in a French press per person. How do you use a mocha pot, etc. You would not believe how snobby and pretentious the Google results were. It was insane. The results were all how to use a mocha pot. Don't. But if you're a sadist or F-king pleb that loves the bitter taste of shitty burnt coffee, I guess here's how. Take the finest for trade Ecuadorian beans handpicked by virgins on the 3rd Saturday of May. Grind them in your 18th century ebony grinder. If you don't use within 15 minutes, throw them out and start again. Double quote. Those who own Lamborghinis and read a book a day. People who are misinformed what gluten is. And are now on a gluten-free diet because it's a trend. Redditors. Foodies. I have a buddy that refuses to eat a place unless some douchey blogger wrote about it. He also equates price with quality. This is sometimes true. But some of my favorite meals have been at dingy little holes in the wall. I like my food authentic and cheap. Not ostentatious and drizzled with a mango chutney reduction. As a musician, we are by far the cringiest and most pretentious group of people in the world. Especially teenage ones. As a former pre-med student. Pre-med students. We're so high and mighty about our potential profession. When in reality very few of us will make it to medical school and graduate. And those of us who do realize how douchy we were because we knew nothing as pre-med students. Mixologists. Dated a mixologist, she ruined drinking for me. I'd take her to a normal non-mixology bar and she'd order a cocktail. Take one sip and say something like, "I can't drink this. The ice hasn't been properly aerated. It's got booze in it. Right? If you want aerated ice, order a F-King's now cone." People who constantly complain about certain groups being pretentious. I've never had a vegan, crossfitter, iPhone Android owner or whatever act like that. Natural moms who only feed their kids organic foods. Amateur Facebook political pundits of any persuasion. People that have to impose political correctness 100% of the time. Look, I'm not objectifying women when I'm only swiping right on the hot ones. Edit. A word. Can't believe this isn't posted yet. New parents. Edit. Because a lot of you are asking if you don't want to be one of those parents. Don't F-King tell us we need to be parents or shitty like when you become a parent. Dot. If we ask about your child then of course shamelessly brag, but if not, then please stfu. Also parent your own children. Not everyone else's children just because you tried something that worked for your dumbass kids or read some book by your favorite version of Oprah. The F-King Old Marie Dominion. You beat one group of people into submission with your magic. And suddenly I can't worship Talos anymore. Hate those pointy-eared bastards. I've said it before. I don't want to be condescending, that is, of course, where I talk down to you. But my definition of pretentious is quite a bit more sophisticated and nuanced than any of yours. It is, in fact, so brilliantly layered and faceted that I dare not sully its artistic merits with an explanation. That would be base and vulgar. 19 or 20-year-old college students who know just enough about their major to think they know everything. YouTuber-esque commenters. They are the lowest of low. Every time I make the mistake of wandering off into the comment section of a video, I'm in for a roller coaster of emotions, including but not limited to rage, disbelief, disgust, pity, resentment, and eventually self-loathing because I fell for it again. I know probably a very large portion of them are pathetic trolls trying to get people to argue with them, but still. World travelers. They think they know everything because they have been in the country for one day. Even if it was just the airport. Edit. Punctuation. People who insist there's one correct way to eat a food. People in our food who care about how you cook your steaks. People who hate people who like pineapple on pizza. As a soldier, I think a lot of my fellow compatriots can be overly pretentious about what we do. A lot of them are brand new to the army and haven't been jaded by the bullshit yet. They'll belittle people on Facebook for enjoying Memorial Day for the wrong reason and humbly brag about how hard our profession is compared to college or anything else really. Definitely royalty. They're literally like, look at me, I'm the queen. I have a crown and expensive jewels and I live in a castle and eat polar bears. Double quote. Or, ooh, I'm a princess. Everybody watch my wedding on TV. This is serious business. Double quote. I find it kind of weird. As a soldier, I can without any doubt say that military bro dudes are the worst to me. Always in public making asses of themselves. Heard the 1% who serve. Like we're special. Most of us join to get out of trouble or escape from dead ends. Not because of our overwhelming patriotism. I love being in the military, but I'd just as soon not talk about it like I'm better than someone that isn't. The super obsessed fitness crowd. No. Not just CrossFitters. All workout styles are the ilk that literally never stop talking about their lifestyle. And holy FCK. All the F-King hashtags they use on Instagram. I've counted over 40 on one post before. Philosophy majors. 100%. They measure intelligence exclusively through one's ability to reason in philosophical terms. And discount anyone who can't agree with them. As someone who grew up in the South in smaller towns where they would gladly blow Hank Williams Jr. to hear a few lines from family tradition, you know. That good old boy song about pills and weed. In a totally hetero way, of course. I'd have to say there is a hardcore rise in hick snobbery. Overly bragging about how simple they live their lives and have no need for anything fancy. Usually telling you this from their overpriced house. Expensive. Fully loaded vehicle. Ridiculous amount of technology they own but don't know how to use. etc etc. They spend their time telling people how small town living is so ideal and they still have morals. Despite how most smaller towns are home to more homemade meth labs and drug trades. Which of course never gets mentioned in their local media. When you live away and take a stance that looks down on others. You are a snob. The ones who do snobby things and mock people for being snobs are the worst. Prog rock fans. They really believe that they are more intelligent than other music fans because they listen to bands that play in odd time signatures and change time signatures frequently and incorporate other progressive elements into their songs. Just because a band knows a lot about music theory doesn't mean that their music is going to be memorable. Rush fans in particular can be annoying. I cringe every time I hear Rush's music for the intelligent rock fan, and Rush has never gotten the respect that they deserve. Double quote. Control systems engineers can be pretty bad. They generally only give two answers to any given question. 1. Read the datasheet. 2. If you don't know the answer, you need to find a new career hobby. Of course I know to read the datasheet. But it doesn't always have all the answers. And everyone has to learn sometime. No one knows everything from the start. Drives me up a wall. The people that are happy to drink themselves into a coma. But oh no, we don't drink full cream milk and we definitely don't eat fast food. I think the common theme here is people who think their interest is superior to others. It's totally cool to be into coffee, food, music, films, etc. But don't act like you're better because you happen to have that particular hobby. Those people who swear they never have time for leisure activities such as watching TV. And seem to think you're lazy for doing so. I need my 1 freaking hour a week of got. Okay. No one is that busy. What I've noticed most from this thread is that the most pretentious people are the ones who quantify their merit from what they consume as opposed to what they create. Foodies. Tech fanboys. Coffee. Craft beer. Even horse culture is something you consume. And in each of these you have the caveat of those involved in the culture who aren't labeled as pretentious because they are the ones creating, building, learning, and growing. Basically, we'd all rather hear you turn your thighs into a drum kit than listen to you talk about how underground your music tastes are. Now everybody go doodle something. Bake a pie. Or make a charm bracelet for fuck's sakes. I'm not like other girls. I play games and hang out with guys because there's less drama. I'm sure not the whole fanbase is like this, but I tried to play MTG a few times because it seemed really interesting. I went down to a local video game store where they had FNM and they sorta tried to be nice, but I could tell they were annoyed that they had to sit there and teach me. And eventually they sorta started ignoring my questions and just told me I can join the next game. They acted so annoyed when I didn't understand something and treated me like a moron. Some fashion design groups seem very pretentious to me. But that might just be because it all goes over my head. People who act like they have no time. They are constantly trying to brag about how busy they are regardless of what they are busy doing. Dude. If you are taking a college course on street magic, you will never convince me that you have a pile of work. Anyone who only surrounds themselves with people who believe only as they do. They begin to dehumanize those without the knowledge they have. Without realizing they weren't born with that knowledge. And I see it especially in people who don't think that situations have nuance. Those who are absolutists about how things should be. You see it in every group written in this thread. It does not matter what side they're on. Redditors. Atheists. The religious. Musicians. College freshmen in any subject. The new and old wealthy. Fast food workers. The military. Vegans. Texans. Etc. People who use French words in their sentences while they could avoid them easily. I speak French and that irks me to a point. Wine snobs, cork dorks, are some of the worst. Only because there's so much bullshit that you have to endure about the inherent qualities of every single wine they taste. Them. You like this one? Me. Yeah. It's fine. Them. You getting that mocha and tobacco right up front? And then that long note of balsam on the finish? I sure am. Me. What? Comma edit. What's a balsam? Close bracket. Former high school skanks turned single moms that complain on Facebook. People who live in states with lots of mountains. I'm looking at you. Coloradans and Alaskans. Comma you didn't build those f-king mountains. Stop acting like you're personally responsible. Beer hipsters. The ones that sneer at people for drinking mainstream lagers instead of something obscure. Evangelical atheists. Not atheists themselves. I'm fine with atheists. The atheists who seem to be on a mission from not God to convince the rest of us how right they are. Dudes, relax. New upper middle class mothers of baby boys. They somehow believe they're going to raise the first male child completely free of sexism, violence and misogyny. A few years later they're enslaved to a bratty, mean-spirited kid who never got the discipline he needed. Also, Mac users. And not just Mac users. The ones who buy a new iPhone every year despite being broke as shit. And who look down on anyone who doesn't use Apple products. Oh my god. Fuck you. When I was getting into reading comics, others who had been reading comics for decades were the rudest and most pretentious people. It was like I was expected to just know years of superhero history before I started reading. I stopped reading comics because it started to feel like I was supposed to study each issue like an exam was coming up. Those people took the fun out of comics for me. Rich old women. The ones down here in Florida are really bad. A lot of them talk in fake accents. I heard one talk about how today's kids are so narcissistic because of selfies. She says this as she's wearing a pound of makeup on her face and decked out in diamonds and designer clothes that she probably bought with her rich husband's money. And they all own small dogs that they treat like children. FCK these women. They like to talk about how they want to make the world a better place. But then they treat the people serving them their mocha frappuccinos like they're beneath them. They'll talk about bad people in the world. But everyone who isn't like them is dog shit in their eyes. Everything they talk about has to involve them and what they do for others. Rich, old, Floridian women are so far up their own asses it's not even funny. There's this group I know of. You probably haven't heard of them, so I won't even bother saying it. But they're way more pretentious than any of these groups. You probably couldn't even comprehend it. College freshmen majoring in biology with the goal of going to med school. I know I'm kind of entering the Shark Tank here. But I f***ing hate those socially retarded nerdy know-it-alls who have to try and correct everything you say. Even if it's something you know about from personal experience. They're the weirdos who got made fun of so much as kids that now their baseline attitude is hostile and they cling to their intelligence as their only redeeming attribute and use it to act superior. Drives me f***ing bonkers. All these damn people who won't accept my money and call me a scammer. All I ever wanted to do was to move out of Nigeria and make some friends. Honors business students. Because they are honors students, they are all convinced that they'll become the next great big entrepreneur or something. From what I've seen in my classes. Most of them are all just anal trailheads who view their classmates as only competition. They think that school is everything and refuse to assist and in some cases even hinder one another to hurt the competition. Despite all this, superficially they all pretend to like each other and act passive aggressive AF. It's sickening. Ironically, while their GPAs may be high, quite a few of them are god-awful networkers. Seems kinda delusional that they think they'll succeed in business. Those I was born in the wrong generation types. It's fine if you like a certain time period, but don't trash the one you have to spend the rest of your life in. We MBAs know. We've been trained to determine how to channel innovative pretension. The signage exists for those who can synergize mentorship and empowerment for the next generation. It takes an MBA to understand this, to channel it, and to slingshot the cleansing freedom that is pretension. Jesui douche. This is gonna get a lot of hate. This generation of young black kids who claim that anyone that disapproves of their actions is racist. College kids on Reddit complaining about other college kids on Reddit. Personally, I hate people that aren't willing to work with me in a conversation to try to understand my meaning and instead contort it into reductionist jokes either to entertain themselves or because they want to sound smart but don't actually want to engage in a meaningful conversation unless it's about a topic they want to discuss. I understand some conversations aren't for everyone, but politely going "oh that's cool" and then walking away is a much better way to handle it than trying to belittle an original thought just because you're too lazy to put in the effort required to actually engage and have a meaningful interaction with someone.